Now, one of the key things that merchant entrepreneurs do is they try to go around those towns. Towns have all sorts of restrictions. Guilds, for example, are these restrictions. Guilds, for example, say how things need to be made, who gets to make different things, how much things cost. And so there's these restrictions, and the reason why these guilds are put in place in the Middle Ages is because they protect the manufacturers of these goods. And so it's pretty common that you'll have a master and an apprentice or several apprentices where the master will own his workshop and be producing items, and then the apprentices are learning the trade, and when the master retires, then the apprentice will take over, and it's all sort of very restricted with these sort of codes or guild restrictions. Okay, so what the merchant entrepreneurs often do is they want to go around that. And this, instead of having this stuff be produced in towns, they want to have this stuff produced by the people outside of those guild restrictions. This is the cottage industry. So the cottage industry means that instead of having the town dwellers be making stuff, you put it out to cottages. So these cottages and the workers there, the peasants there, they are going to be the ones who are manufacturing your items. This is sometimes called the domestic system because it's happening domestically within the cottage, within the house. It's sometimes also referred to as the putting out system. And let's explain why. The merchant entrepreneur is the one who's going to put out work to these peasants. And so he's going to provide the wool to those peasants, and then he's going to provide the, say, machines, these, sewing machines to these peasants so they can turn that wool into, they can spin that wool into a thread, and he's going to provide other things for these peasants, or a wage for these peasants, for them to take that thread and weave it into whatever. And so he's going to put out work to these different groups of people in the countryside that are outside of trade restrictions or guild restrictions. And so then the production of these items is going to be happening within people's homes. And so many peasants will supplement the money that they're making from agricultural work with this money. Now it's key that you understand one key distinction. In the town, the guild, the place where things are being made in the town, those are often owned by the master. So he's got his workshop, and the master there owns the workshop, and the things he's producing are, being sold by him. The profits go to him. So what we have here is a distinct difference. The person making the stuff out here is not the owner of those items. The person who owns the cloth, the person who owns the material, is not the worker. The merchant entrepreneur, he's got the capital. He's the one giving the wool, giving the tools, giving the materials, and they're working for him. So instead of it being a master who's working for himself, we're going to see the rise of a split between workers who are producing items and then the owners, the people that have capital. Okay, so a division between labor and capital will emerge. And so this is the emergence of capitalism, and we'll define that term in a second. It's a little down on your sheet. So new industries. Now the cottage industry is mainly about textiles. So what we'll see is many peasants will be used in producing wool and later cotton textiles. So by this we mean all sorts of clothes, and, all sorts of other things that are textiles. For example, I don't know, shoes or carpets or stuff like that. So new industries, though, that are happening as a result of this trade over larger areas, as a result of this rise of commerce. Well, one of the new industries is, for example, bookmaking, right? The print industry. Print is something where it's not profitable if you're a printmaker in this town and you can only sell to your town because it costs a lot to own one of these, printing machines, printing presses. So printing is one of those industries that benefits from this larger trade, and it helps provoke more trade. It helps provoke this commercial revolution. Other things, for example, shipbuilding. Okay, shipbuilding will help allow for more trade overseas, and this likewise is going to provoke more trade over larger areas, because people in all these areas are going to want those things that they can get from overseas. For example, spices or sugar and other items. Mines will be another industry where we'll see growth of mines, and so mine production will be something that those items will be traded over larger areas as well. So what we see here is the dawn of commercial capitalism. And this is happening gradually. Once again, the 1500s, 1600s, very gradual. But we see that basically commerce means trade, and capitalism means you have people who own the capital. Okay, so we've got these merchants that are trading over large distances. That is commercial capitalism. Okay, the rise of this burgher class, this bourgeoisie class, these merchants that are going to be trading things. Yeah?
May I please read my test home?
Go ahead. Just check it out. Okay? And so, note that this is not going to be state-controlled capitalism, right? It's private ownership, right? These merchants, these entrepreneurs, they're the ones that will make the money from their profits. And let's define entrepreneur, just because I don't think we did. An entrepreneur is someone who gets involved in business, and there's an inherent risk. So there's someone who takes a risk by starting up or expanding his business. That's an entrepreneur. So, for example, whereas before the master in his job here in his workshop produced one chair when person X wanted a chair, and he produced one table when person Y ordered a table. Well, an entrepreneur is someone who's going to be, especially these merchants, they're going to be buying up 10 chairs and 10 tables, moving them around, and hoping they can find a market for them. Right? It's like Nike doesn't wait for your order to make its shoes. It's making the 5,000 shoes, and it hopes it can sell them. If not, it puts them on discount and gets you to buy them at those stores like at Cabazon, but outlet stores.